They say a ship is more than the sum of its parts, and part of the fun of spaceships is pitting yours against others in the persisting universe. Now, we all know the joy of utterly destroying your opponents in a spirited spectacle of space, but sometimes you'd rather disable them and leave your options open, like maybe searching through those ship's parts. And that's exactly what Matthew and Patrick are working on right now, preparing ships for the subsystem targeting of components. Let's check in with them and see where they're at.
We've been helping out the IFCS team with the thruster items, helping them with the damage. There's about 120 thrusters that you've been going through.
Yeah, so far so good. So the first thing I did was actually I went through and I did all the individual thrusters. So now every single thruster item, which has its own health, also has its own proxy.
Which is collision, right?
Yeah, that is a collision mesh, which means that's what dictates that damage happens to the asset.
Okay.
After I finished all the thrusters, I had to go through every ship, and then each ship needed to be accessible. So like, for example...
Like over here we see there's a concavity now where the thruster sits. So that way we can strike it directly.
Yeah, so you can see that over here on the Prospector. That was actually flat now, but you can go in and you can actually shoot it, damage it individually, get right in there.
And in the debug here, we see these green bars. The health is actually going down as you shoot.
Well, basically, when we're shooting the thing, these little health bars go down, which are also represented on the mesh. So each individual thruster can show me where it is, how much health it has, and I can see the damage transfer through that asset into others.
And that's similar how players will see in their MFD, they'll see the thruster glow from like yellow and then to red as it's like about to be destroyed.
And mains, for example, have some VFX that happen as they slowly degrade. They take some damage, they emit more particles, so that's kind of how those are getting set up now.
Now right now, like you have to shoot into these recesses to actually strike the thruster, right?
Correct.
But like in the future, we'll be able to shoot through the hull with our pierceability tech and then strike the thruster that's under the hull.
When you're attacking someone, they'll slowly degrade their performance, and that's kind of the end result, is to create more of like a dynamic gameplay flow. And you could see in this mesh in particular, this was actually capped, so I had to go in and sort of chisel the hull back, come in, extrude these out, that way you can shoot each thruster individually. Same thing goes for the rest of the ships down the line. All right, so is that good? Is that pretty much what you wanted? You all set?
Yeah.
All right.
Can I get back to work now?
Can I actually get back to work now?
Sure.
Yeah, we've got things to do.
I got a lot of thrusters to do here, a lot of proxies to model.
The public roadmap is your tool to see what features are in active development and heading your way each quarter. But oftentimes, some of the less flashy features can get overlooked. I'm looking at you, game object extensions conversion, or at least I would be if you had a visual component to look at. With that in mind, we asked Jens and Gordon to sit down and talk with us a little bit about what client-to-server actor networking rework means. Client-to-server actor, I almost got through it. Let's find out more.
The first step for this was the server-to-client actor networking rework. So this is changing how the
client-to-server.
Client-to-server, server-to-client, yeah, the client-server. So this is changing how the client talks to the server.
When we released Star Marine, one thing we found is we really wanted to improve was lag, or the perception of lag, to improve the PvP experience.
Currently, we're fully client authoritative. So that means when I press forward on my machine, my actor runs forward 2 meters. He works out his new position, and that position's sent up to server, which is fine. That's an okay way doing the networking. We're switching to being server authoritative.
Yeah, essentially on the server, you're just teleporting around.
Instead of everyone else seeing you teleport around, it's the other way around, so it's now you that's teleporting around. So your experience is degraded rather than every other player in the server having their experience degraded. We're just about finished client to server, the next one's server to client, improving the communication down the way. So at the moment, for instance, we've got an artificial 1/4 second rewind time injected into the system to try and smooth everything out. The idea is to reduce that significantly down to maybe a frame or 2.
So when I'm hunting you in Star Marine, where I see you are is where you are.
When
you're no longer bunny hopping around.
When you're trying to hunt
when
me,
you turn on your cheats, the server's going to punish you.
When you're trying to hunt me in Star Marine, yes, it will be a much better experience for you. You'll be able to shoot me much easier.
Yes. Good.
So what did you think?
Well, I mean, it's an important thing that we need to be talking about. It has no visuals, though. I wish the episode had more of a punch to it.
A punch? Like what? What do you mean?
Well, it would have been really cool to do a sprint report this episode, but we didn't get it in time.
There's a camera right there. There's a camera. Right there. This whole time, there's been a camera right there.
You mean do a sprint report right now that was unplanned and not in the original hosting?
Why not? I mean, let's do it.
Heck, it's our show. Here's your sprint report. The EU gameplay feature team continues their sprint on clustered harvestables, shown here with some test assets provided by the art teams. The new tech on display here is the ability to spawn clusters of harvestable entities at varying degrees of density and distance from one another. And this tech can potentially be applied to additional features like surface-side mineable entities and even asteroids in space. Now, it'll be a while before you see this tech in the game, but this is an important milestone that lays the groundwork for future development. Now, a couple weeks ago in the RSI weekly newsletter, you may have noticed this image of a new helmet with hologram imaging coming to subscribers in Q3 of this year. It's part of an initiative we're taking to revamp the subscriber program in general, starting with unique decorative items that you won't be able to find anywhere else. Also slated for Q3 is this Centurion-esque helmet, and to those of you that have been asking, both will be completely wearable by players. The US vehicle team is working on materials development for the Banu Defender in a follow-up to our segment a couple weeks ago. What you're seeing here is essentially an untextured version of the exterior as the team explores a variety of alien material types that have to work in a multitude of environments and lighting situations. Finally, the environment art team is continuing their work developing the shared resources that will make up much of Microtech's buildings and interiors, referred to internally as the high-tech common elements set. Now here's one potential exploration of what a transit hub might look like, and well, these trains might be placeholder. They're almost certainly placeholder. That's a hot dog. Spaceships come in all shapes and sizes, from the tiny Argo MPUV to the massive Aegis Javelin and beyond. They're a cornerstone of the Star Citizen experience, and one of the most anticipated ships on our roadmap is the 890 Jump from Origin. Now, this massive luxury ship is being worked on by multiple team members ahead of its intended release in Alpha 3.6. And Peter was kind enough to give us a tour of some of the interior areas that he's been working on this week. Let's take a look.
Currently on the 890 Jump, we're at the final art phase, which means we've took all the grey box geometry that's been well established and we've worked out all our core styling, and we're just adding all the final textures, the lighting, all the bells and whistles that pull it together. Now, not everything's in there at final art, but what we have here is the foyer area that leads you into the social hub of the ship. This is where you do all your entertaining. So as we go through, you've obviously got your toilets, got your bar area. As you'll notice here, we've got a little side room, and this is your service lift that the crew who look after the guests would use to come and bring you your drinks and your food. What you'll notice is it's quite dark and a bit of a change of the palette from the rest of the ship, and this is intentional to make you feel more relaxed. This is in part from feedback from the 600. Community felt it was a little wasteful with the space it used, the styling. It's a bit more fancy because it's a luxury ship after all, rather than an exploration vessel like the 600 is. So that's the bar area. Now we go through to the dining area. This room ended up being a little larger than we first planned, and that's because obviously it's a ship with decks and changes have knock-ons, and we wanted a pool in here. Actually, I was showing this to a backer. He was actually part of an 890 club, and thought I can use that to bring round my 890 mates and we can discuss our plan for things, plan for get-togethers. Basically, that's what this ship is all about. It's your party ship where you're going to have your mates around, you're going to have fun. You can use it for different things, but that's essentially what it's about.
So, what did we learn this week? We learned that we're another step closer to the greater gameplay opportunities provided by disabling ships instead of blowing them up. Performance improvements are made in a variety of smaller features that add to the overall whole. And the 890 Jump is big enough to fill 890 segments, and we're just going to drag this thing out because we still have a lot of shows to fill every quarter. To our subscribers, we'll see some of you tomorrow for our live studio audience edition of Star Citizen Live. And to everyone else out there in Backerland, We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.